The great hall of the galactic Concordium shone with blue light. It floated in space near a dying star called Thara. Inside the hall, 847 alien species sat in circles of polished stone. Some had wings, some had tentacles, some were clouds of gas held inside glass suits. They had ruled the galaxy together for 50,000 years. Today, they were worried. Arbiter Z's Hall stood at the center of the hall. He was a Vothari, tall and covered in dark purple scales. His 4 arms hung at his sides. His red eyes glowed as he spoke. "Honored members of the Concordium," he said, his voice deep and calm. "6 months ago, we found a new species. They live on a blue planet called Earth. Their star is small. Their technology is weak. We have classified them as Tier 7 primitives." A soft whisper moved through the hall. Tier 7 was the lowest rank. It meant a species could barely leave their own world. The Vothari hegemony asks the Concordium for one simple thing, ZSS Call continued. Permission to take Earth. Their planet has rare metals we need. The humans will not suffer. We will give them new homes. We will teach them our ways. In return, we take what we need. Many council members nodded. It was a normal request. Strong species helped weak ones. This was the way of the galaxy. But one voice spoke up. Wait. All eyes turned. Dr. Miravex stood slowly from her seat. She was a Kelmaran, small and gray, with large black eyes. She was the chief xenobiologist of the Concordium. She had studied more species than anyone alive. "I must share my findings before the vote," she said. Zskal frowned. "Doctor, this is a simple matter. The humans are not what you think," she said. Her voice was soft but firm. "Please, look at the data." The hall lights dimmed. A large screen appeared in the air. Numbers and charts floated across it. Dr. Miravex pointed with one small finger. "These are the physical readings of human bodies," she said. "Muscle strength, bone hardness, lung power, brain activity under stress. Look at the numbers." The council members looked. Some gasped. The numbers were impossible. "Every sentient species follows a rule, Dr. Miravex said. Bigger bodies are stronger. Smaller bodies are weaker. Smart species are physically weak. Strong species are not as smart. This is biology. This is the law of life." She paused. "Humans break every rule." The screen showed a human man lifting a heavy object. Next to him was a Vothari warrior, much larger, doing the same lift. The human lifted more. "A full-grown human can run for 20 hours without stopping," Dr. Miravex said. "No other sentient species can do this. Not one. Their muscles make heat that should kill them, but their skin sweats water to cool their bodies. They can chase a fast animal for days until the animal dies from exhaustion. They call this persistence hunting." The hall was silent. "Their bones are 3 times harder than ours," she continued. "Their hands can grip with force that would crush a Vothari skull. They heal from wounds that would kill most species. Their eyes see colors we cannot even imagine. Their ears hear sounds across great distances." Arbiter Zskal laughed. It was a dry, harsh sound. "Doctor, this is interesting, but strength of body means nothing. We have plasma weapons. We have ships that cross stars. The humans have fuel rockets and steel guns. What does it matter if they can run for a long time?" Many council members nodded in agreement, but Dr. Miravex was not finished. "There is more," she said quietly. "I have studied the evolution of every species in this council. We are all apex predators. We all come from creatures that sat at the top of our food chains. The Vothari evolved from great reptile hunters. The Kelmaran evolved from forest predators. The Tikith evolved from the sky hunters of their homeworld. Every single species here evolved as something that killed other things." She took a breath. Humans did not. The hall grew very quiet. Humans evolved as prey. A ripple of confusion went through the council. "Their homeworld had animals that hunted them," Dr. Miravex said. "Big cats, great bears, wolves, snakes. For millions of years, humans ran from things that wanted to eat them. They were small. They were slow. They had no claws, no horns, No poison. Nothing. She looked around the hall. And yet today, they own their planet. They drove most of those hunters to death. They built cities. They walked on their moon. They did all of this in just a few thousand years, which for their species is very fast. Your point, Doctor? Zskal asked. But his voice was not so confident now. My point, Dr. Miravex said, is that humans are the only sentient species in the known galaxy that evolved as prey that learned to fight back. They are not predators who became smart. They are food that refused to be eaten, and they do not know what this means. She turned to face the whole council. In my report, I have written a warning. I ask the council to read it before you vote. Humans do not know their own strength. They look at themselves and see weak bodies. They see failure. They see small lives, but their biology tells a different story. They are walking weapons who believe they are sheep. And if we wake them up? Asked a soft voice from the Tikith delegation. Dr. Miravex's black eyes grew dark. Then we may regret it for the rest of our time as a civilization. The vote was held 1 hour later. 692 species voted in favor of the Vothari taking Earth. 150 species abstained. Only 5 species voted against. Dr. Miravex was one of the 5. Arbiter Zskal smiled as the results appeared. He bowed to the council. The Vothari hegemony thanks you. The Earth will be ours within 3 weeks. The humans will not even know what hit them. As the council ended, Dr. Miravex walked alone to her small ship. She carried her data disk in her pocket. She looked up through the glass dome at the stars. Somewhere out there, a blue planet spun around a small yellow star. Children played on green grass. Old men fished in quiet rivers. Mothers sang to their babies. None of them knew that 200 warships were coming. None of them knew what they were. May the old gods forgive us, Dr. Miravex whispered to the stars. We have just poked the sleeping monster. 3 weeks later, the Vothari fleet entered the Sol system. 200 warships, armed with plasma cannons and star-burning weapons, moved silently toward the blue planet. Their commander, Grand Warlord Thesicor, sat on his throne and smiled. Prepare the first message, he said. Tell the humans to surrender. He did not know that deep in the forests of Earth, in the cities and villages, in the military bases and farms, a species was about to wake up. And once it woke up, it would never sleep again. The first message came at dawn on a Tuesday. It appeared on every television, every phone, every radio, every computer screen on Earth at the same moment. Grand Warlord Thesicor's face filled the screens. His purple scales shone. His red eyes looked down from orbit. People of Earth, he said in perfect English, perfect Mandarin, perfect Arabic, perfect Spanish, and every other language at once. Your world now belongs to the Vothari hegemony. You will stop all fighting. You will gather in your cities. You will wait for our ships to land. Those who obey will be given new lives. Those who resist will be destroyed. You have 12 hours to decide. The message ended. For 1 long minute, the whole Earth was silent. Then everything went crazy. In the Vothari command ship, Grand Warlord Thesicor watched his screens with growing confusion. He had invaded 14 worlds in his long life. He knew how this was supposed to go. The natives would panic. Their leaders would send messages of surrender. Their armies would stand down. This always happened. But humans were different. Sir, said his science officer, a young Vothari named Kreth, the human response is strange. Show me. The screens filled with video feeds from Earth. In one city, people were running into churches and temples, praying to their gods. In another, the stock market had crashed, and traders were screaming at each other. In a third city, a group of humans were fighting each other in the streets, not about the aliens, but about who should lead the response. In Washington, the president was giving a speech. In Moscow, the leader was also giving a speech. In Beijing, another leader was giving a different speech. In London, Paris, Tokyo, New Delhi, all at once, many different humans claimed to speak for the whole species. There are 47 different governments, all sending us messages, Kreth said. Some want to surrender. Some want to fight. Some want to negotiate. Some want to join us and help us conquer the others. Thesicor rubbed his scaled head. What kind of species has 47 governments? A divided one, sir, Kreth said. This is good for us. They cannot fight us if they cannot agree. Thesicor nodded slowly. Yes. Yes. You are right. Prepare a demonstration strike. A small one. Show them what we can do. They will surrender within hours. The target was a small island in the Pacific Ocean. No people lived there. Only birds and small lizards. The Vothari fired one plasma cannon from low orbit. The island turned to glass and ash in 3 seconds. Every camera on Earth caught the attack. Every human saw what the aliens could do. Thesicor waited for the surrender messages. They did not come. Instead, something very strange happened. A cargo ship in the Pacific Ocean changed course. It was an old ship, full of shipping containers. It was not a military vessel. It had no weapons. It was captained by a Filipino man named Eduardo Ramos. He had been sailing these waters for 30 years. Eduardo Ramos watched the alien landing craft come down near his ship. The alien craft was 10 times bigger than his old cargo ship. It was armored. It was armed. It carried 50 Vothari soldiers. Eduardo Ramos pushed his engine to full power. His crew screamed at him. Captain, what are you doing? I am doing what my grandmother would do, Eduardo said quietly. The cargo ship hit the Vothari landing craft at full speed. 20,000 tons of steel and cargo smashed into the alien vessel. The landing craft's shields could stop plasma weapons. They could stop missiles. They were not designed to stop a very large, very heavy, very stubborn object moving very fast. The Vothari craft cracked open like an egg. It sank into the ocean in less than 2 minutes. Eduardo Ramos was pulled from the water by the Vothari. He was the only survivor from his ship. He should have been terrified. He should have begged for mercy. Instead, he laughed. They took him to the command ship. They put him in a special chair that could read minds. This chair had been used on prisoners from 50 different species. It had broken the minds of warriors and kings. No one could stay sane inside it for more than an hour. Eduardo Ramos sat in the chair for 6 hours. When they took him out, he was still laughing. Kreth, the young science officer, spoke to him through a translator. Why do you laugh, human? You have lost your ship. Your crew is dead. You are our prisoner. You will never see your family again. Why do you laugh? Eduardo smiled. He was a short man, maybe 60 years old. His face was lined from years of sun and sea. You think this is bad? He said. My grandmother survived the Japanese occupation of my country. She was a small girl. The soldiers took her village. They killed her father. They burned her home. She survived for 4 years with nothing but a kitchen knife and a very bad attitude. She killed 3 soldiers before the war ended. She lived to be 92. She taught me that fear is a choice. He looked up at Kreth with bright, calm eyes. You aliens are big. You are strong. You have nice ships. But you have never met my grandmother. Kreth did not know what to say. Meanwhile, on the surface of Earth, something was happening that no Vothari expected. The humans were learning. The wrecked Vothari landing craft in the Pacific was not completely destroyed. Parts of it had floated to shore. Human military ships reached the wreckage before the Vothari could. They pulled pieces of alien technology out of the water. They took it to secret labs. Within 48 hours, engineers in 3 different countries had taken apart Vothari plasma rifles. Within 72 hours, a team in South Korea had figured out how the shields worked. Within 1 week, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chen, who used to work for NASA, had hacked a Vothari communication satellite and was listening to every Vothari message in the fleet. She shared everything she learned with the United Nations. The UN shared it with every government on Earth. The 47 governments stopped arguing. For the first time in human history, all of them began working together. Back on the Vothari command ship, Dr. Miravex was watching all of this. The Concordium had sent her as an observer. She had been given a small office and full access to the fleet's data. What she saw made her sick with fear. She recorded her observations each night. Day 14 of the invasion. She whispered to her recorder. The humans have now captured 16 Vothari weapons. 3 of these weapons have been modified by human engineers. One of the modified weapons was used in a battle near the city of Sydney. It worked better in human hands than in Vothari hands. The plasma output was 30% higher. The range was doubled. The Vothari designers they are weeping. They say it is impossible. Humans should not be able to improve our technology in 2 weeks. It took us 200 years to design these weapons. She stopped recording and looked out the window at the blue planet below. But the humans did it in 2 weeks. And they are still improving. Down on Earth, a teenage boy in the city of Lahore, Pakistan, was building something in his bedroom. His name was Farhan. He was 15 years old. He loved video games and drones. He had taught himself to code when he was 8. Farhan had watched the news of the invasion with wide eyes. Then he had looked at his collection of cheap consumer drones. Then he had looked at the Vothari technology leaks that Dr. Sarah Chen had shared online. He smiled, a small smile. I think, he said quietly to himself, I can do something with this. He opened his laptop and began to work. 80 kilometers above him, the Vothari cruiser Blood Victory moved silently through the sky. It did not know that a boy was coming for it. 6 months passed. The Vothari had expected to own Earth in 3 weeks. Now they were losing the war. Grand Warlord Thesicor sat alone in his command room. His scales had turned a dull gray color, which in Vothari biology meant deep stress. He had not slept properly in 2 months. His fleet had lost 43 warships. The humans had captured 17 of those ships and were now using them against the Vothari. On his main screen, a report from the front lines played. A young Vothari officer, bleeding from a wound on his face, spoke quickly. Sir, we cannot hold the position in North Africa. The human forces are using our own plasma weapons against us. They have modified the weapons to fire faster. They have also built some kind of jamming system. Our ships cannot communicate properly in the region. We need to pull back, sir. We need to... The transmission cut off. Thesicor closed his eyes. Behind him, Kreth entered the room quietly. The young science officer had aged years in 6 months. His voice was tired. Grand Warlord, he said. You asked for the latest report on human biology. You should see this. He placed a data tablet on the table. Thesicor looked at it. The numbers made no sense. Explain, Thesicor said. Kreth took a breath. Sir, human soldiers who have been fighting for many months are improving. Their bodies are changing under stress. Their reflexes are faster now than when the war started. Their pain tolerance has increased. They need less sleep. They are eating less food but running more. That is impossible, Thesicor said. Stress breaks bodies. Stress does not improve them. In every other species we know, yes, Kreth said. But humans are different. Their bodies have some kind of adaptive system. Under long combat stress, they release special chemicals. These chemicals do not hurt them. They make them stronger, faster, harder to kill. Kreth swallowed. Sir, the humans who have been fighting us the longest are now the most dangerous humans. And they are getting more dangerous every week. We cannot wait them out. The longer this war goes on, the worse our situation becomes. Thesicor stared at the tablet. He thought about what this meant. His soldiers grew tired from war, injured, broken. But human soldiers grew stronger. They became weapons the longer they fought. How is this possible? He whispered. Dr. Mira Vex has a theory, Kreth said. She says humans evolved on a world where the weak died quickly. Only those who could adapt survived. So their bodies learned to adapt very fast. She says this is why they are so good at changing their tools, their tactics, their weapons. They are a species built to adapt to anything. And war is just another thing to adapt to. Thesicor sat very still. In Pakistan, the boy named Farhan stood on a rooftop in Lahore. It was 3 months since he had started building his project. He was no longer alone. 30 other young people worked with him now. Some were his friends from school. Some were programmers from other countries who had contacted him online. They called themselves the Sky Team. Farhan held a small remote control in his hands. Above him, the sky was dark. In the clouds, hidden by special paint that blocked radar, 200 small drones waited. Each drone was cheap. Each one carried a small package of Vothari explosive material that had been captured and reverse-engineered. Each drone was smart, running code that Farhan had written himself. "Are we ready?" asked his best friend, Aisha. "We are ready," Farhan said. 80 kilometers above them, the Vothari cruiser, Blood Victory, was on a routine patrol. Its captain was sure of his safety. No human weapon could reach his ship at this height. Human aircraft could not fly this high. Human missiles could not lock onto his ship through the Vothari shields. He was correct. Human aircraft and human missiles could not reach him. But 200 tiny drones, each smaller than a cat, flying in a perfect pattern guided by a 15-year-old's code, could reach him. The drones were so small that the Vothari sensors ignored them. They looked like birds. They looked like insects. They looked like nothing. The drones passed through the shields easily. The shields were built to stop big, fast, powerful things. They were not built to stop small, slow, quiet things. The drones landed on the ship's engines. They attached themselves with magnets. Then they exploded, all at the same time. The Blood Victory fell from the sky in pieces. Farhan watched it fall from his rooftop. He did not cheer. He did not shout. He just stood there, looking up, his mouth slightly open. "I just killed 2,000 aliens," he said quietly. Aisha put her hand on his shoulder. "You saved 1,000,000 humans, Farhan. Remember that." In orbit, Dr. Miravex watched the news of the Blood Victory's destruction. She sat in her small office on the Vothari command ship. Her hands shook as she made her decision. She had spent months watching the humans fight. She had seen things no one in the Concordium would believe. Human soldiers going 3 days without food and still fighting. Human mothers lifting collapsed buildings off their children with bare hands. Human scientists breaking Vothari codes that should have taken 1,000 years to break. She had also seen the Vothari plans for what came next. If Earth did not surrender within 3 more months, the order would come from the Concordium: destroy the planet, use the star-burning weapons, turn Earth to dust. Dr. Miravex could not allow that. She packed her data into a small case. She took her research. She took classified Vothari military plans. She took lists of Vothari weak points. She took everything she could carry. Then she stole a small shuttle and flew toward Earth. She was shot at by Vothari fighters. Her shuttle was damaged. She crashed in a field in France. French soldiers found her quickly. They did not shoot her. They saw she was alone. They saw she was injured. They saw she was carrying a data case. She said only 4 words in human English, which she had learned to speak. "Take me to leaders." 1 week later, Dr. Miravex stood in a secret room deep under the mountains of Switzerland. Around a table sat 7 humans. A Russian general with gray hair, an old Iroquois woman whose eyes were sharp and bright, a Brazilian physicist in a wheelchair, a former British soldier with scars on his face, a Chinese diplomat, an Indian engineer, and Eduardo Ramos, the Filipino captain who had rammed the Vothari landing craft with his cargo ship. He had been rescued 2 months ago by a human team that had boarded the Vothari prison ship. Dr. Miravex looked at all of them. She took a deep breath. "I am going to tell you things that will change your species forever," she said. "You are not alone in the galaxy. There are 847 other sentient species. They have been watching you for a long time. They think you are weak and simple. They are wrong." She opened her data case. "You are the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. You have always been. You just did not know it." The humans leaned forward. "Tell us everything," the Iroquois elder said. Dr. Miravex began to speak. She spoke for 6 hours. She showed them charts of human biology. She showed them the Concordium's own files about Earth. She showed them Vothari plans. She showed them the truth about what humans were. When she was done, the humans sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Eduardo Ramos spoke. "So you are telling us," he said slowly, "that the galaxy has been lying to us about ourselves? That we are actually one of the strongest species out there? That the Vothari expected an easy win because they thought we were weak?" "Yes," Dr. Miravex said. Eduardo looked at the others around the table. He smiled his small smile. "Well then," he said, "I think it is time we stopped playing defense. The old Iroquois elder nodded slowly. Her eyes were dark and wise. The time has come, she said, for us to visit the stars. And so, for the first time in history, humanity decided to go on the attack against an interstellar empire, while still being invaded. The galaxy did not know it yet, but it was about to meet something it had never seen before, an angry species that had just learned the truth about itself. 1 year after first contact, humanity struck the stars. The first human warship to leave the Sol system was called the Hope of Africa. It was built inside a hollow asteroid. The humans had dug out the asteroid using captured Vothari mining equipment. They had filled the inside with engines, weapons, and crew quarters. The outside still looked like a regular asteroid. It was slow. It was ugly. It was heavy. It was also invisible to Vothari sensors. The Hope of Africa drifted quietly through space for 3 weeks. It looked like a rock. It acted like a rock. The Vothari patrol ships that passed by did not even slow down to look at it. Inside the rock, 300 human soldiers prepared for battle. Their captain was a woman named Amara Okonkwo. She had been a commercial airline pilot before the war. She had flown passenger planes between Lagos and London for 15 years. Now, she was about to lead humanity's first attack on an alien world. 10 minutes to target, said her navigation officer. Amara Okonkwo nodded. She looked at the faces of her crew. Most of them were young. Some were very young. They had all volunteered. She had told them they might not come back. They had smiled and signed up anyway. Listen to me, she said to them. We are about to do something that no human has ever done. We are going to attack a Vothari supply base. This base gives food and fuel to 10,000 Vothari soldiers fighting on Earth. If we destroy it, those soldiers will starve. Our families will be safer. She paused. Some of you are scared. This is normal. I am scared too. But remember this. The Vothari came to our world. They killed our people. They tried to take our planet. Today, we show them that Earth is not just a place. Earth is a promise. And the promise is this. If you come for us, we will come for you. Her crew cheered. The Hope of Africa opened its rocky skin. Inside, hidden by the stone, were hundreds of weapons built from modified Vothari technology. The weapons fired all at once at the Vothari base. The Vothari never saw it coming. Their shields were turned off because they believed they were safe in their own territory. Their warships were parked in docking bays. Their soldiers were in their barracks, eating their evening meal. The attack lasted 12 minutes. The supply base burned for 3 days. News of the attack reached every corner of the galaxy within 1 week. In the Concordium Council, Arbiter ZSS Call stood before a very different crowd than 1 year ago. The council members now looked at him with fear and anger, not respect. You told us this would be simple, said the leader of the Tiketh delegation, her feathered head shaking. You told us the humans were Tier 7 primitives. Now they have destroyed 3 of your supply bases. They have captured 17 of your ships. They have killed over 50,000 Vothari soldiers. You have failed, Zesiskal. You have failed all of us. Zeskal's purple scales had faded to a pale gray. He looked much older than he had a year ago. Honored Council, he said quietly. I admit my mistake. But I ask you to understand. The humans are not what any of our data suggested. They are adapting faster than any species in recorded history. They are learning our technology and improving it. They are using tactics that our military minds have never seen before. They are excuses, said the Kelmoran representative. We want solutions. Zeseskal took a deep breath. There is only one solution left, he said. We must destroy Earth completely. Not conquer it. Not occupy it. Destroy it. Use the star-burning weapons. Turn their planet to dust. If we do not do this, they will come for the whole galaxy. I promise you this. In 100 years, they will rule all of us. Not because they are evil, but because we will have taught them they need to do it for safety. A long silence fell over the council. Then small voices began to speak. Some agreed with ZSS Call. Earth must be destroyed. Others disagreed. It was not right to destroy a whole planet. Still, others were silent, thinking. In the end, the vote was held. 402 species voted to destroy Earth. 350 species voted against. 95 species did not vote. The destruction was approved. A fleet was gathered. Not just Vothari ships this time. Ships from 14 different species joined together. They called themselves the Coalition of Protection. They said they were saving the galaxy from a dangerous new threat. 300 warships gathered at the edge of the Sol system. On Earth, humans received the warning. Dr. Miravex had stayed in contact with a few friends in the Concordium. One of them had leaked the attack plans to her. She brought the information to the human leaders. "You have 6 weeks," she told them. "In 6 weeks, the fleet will arrive. They will not try to conquer this time. They will burn your star. They will turn your planet to glass. There will be nothing left of humanity." Captain Amara Okonkwo, now Admiral Okonkwo, listened carefully. She did not look afraid. She only looked tired. 6 weeks, she said. That is more time than we usually get. Around the world, humanity prepared. The work was impossible. But humans did not know it was impossible. They only knew it had to be done. On the moon, engineers built 3 new shipyards in 1 month. A normal shipyard took 2 years to build. They had no time for normal. They worked in shifts of 18 hours. They slept for 4 hours. They ate standing up. They built ships faster than the Concordium believed was possible. In the asteroid belt, mining robots built weapon platforms out of rocks. Each platform could fire weapons that humans had designed themselves, weapons that no alien species had ever seen. The platforms were hidden behind asteroids. They waited like spiders in a web. On Mars, the first human-built warships rolled out of factories. These ships did not look like Vothari ships. They did not look like any alien ships. They looked like something that a species obsessed with war had been dreaming about for thousands of years. They were. Humans had been writing stories about space war since before they had airplanes. Every child had grown up reading books about space battles, watching movies about space battles, playing games about space battles. Now the whole species put all of those dreams into real metal and real guns. The ships were beautiful and terrible. In labs in Switzerland, Germany, Japan, and the United States, scientists worked on something the Vothari had never imagined. They called it Project Prometheus. It was not a weapon. It was a message. A very special message that would be sent at the exact right moment. Dr. Sarah Chen, the former NASA engineer who had hacked Vothari satellites, led the Prometheus team. She worked 16 hours a day. She lost 20 pounds. She did not care. "The galaxy thinks we are children," she told her team. "They think they know us. They do not know us at all. When we are done, every single sentient species out there is going to know exactly what humans are. And they will never forget." 6 weeks passed. The Coalition of Protection fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. 300 warships, 14 species. Enough firepower to destroy 100 planets. They expected to find a scared, broken species begging for mercy. Instead, they found a fleet waiting for them. It was not as big as their fleet. It was maybe 150 ships. But the humans had chosen their ground carefully. They were positioned behind the orbit of Jupiter. Their ships were spread out in ways that made no sense to Vothari tactical computers. Asteroids floated near the human fleet in patterns that also made no sense. Grand Warlord Thesicor commanded the Coalition fleet. He stared at the human formation on his screens. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. "Why are they waiting there?" he asked his officers. "They should be defending Earth directly. That formation makes no sense." "Sir," said Kreth, who now looked 50 years older than when the war had started, "I have an uncomfortable thought." "Speak." "Sir, what if the formation looks like nonsense to us because we are thinking like Vothari? What if the humans are thinking like something else? Something we do not understand?" Thesicor felt cold in his stomach. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "Advance on the human fleet." The Coalition fleet moved forward. 300 warships, moving like a great wall of death. On the human flagship, Admiral Amara Okonkwo smiled. They took the bait, she said. Activate Prometheus. Behind her, Dr. Sarah Chen pressed a single button, and the galaxy began to shake. The button Dr. Sarah Chen pressed did not fire a weapon. It did not launch a missile. It did not even turn on a shield. It sent a message. The message went out on every radio frequency, every light frequency, every communication channel known to every species in the galaxy. It used the captured Vothari network to reach even the most distant worlds. It used stolen codes to bypass every filter and firewall. For the first time in galactic history, a species transmitted its entire cultural memory. Every song humans had ever recorded, every book they had ever written, every movie, every news report, every documentary about war, every photograph of suffering and joy, every speech by every leader who had ever fought for freedom, every scream of pain from every battlefield in human history, every laugh of every child who had ever survived something impossible. Across the galaxy, on 847 worlds, every screen suddenly lit up. Every radio began to speak. Every communication device poured out human voices, human music, human images, human truth. The Prometheus message came with one simple line, translated perfectly into every known language. This is what we are. This is what we have always been. We survived ourselves. We can survive you, but we would rather not have to. Choose. Meanwhile, the battle began. The coalition fleet fired first. 300 ships opened up with plasma cannons, particle beams, and missile swarms. The attack was massive. It should have destroyed the human fleet in minutes. It did not. The human ships moved. But they did not move like Vothari ships. They did not move like any alien ships. They moved in ways that Vothari tactical computers rated as impossible, stupid, or suicidal. Human pilots dove their ships straight toward enemy fire, then turned at the last second in moves that should have torn the ships apart. Human gunners fired at targets that seemed random, but somehow, every shot hit something important. Human commanders changed tactics every 30 seconds, confusing the coalition's ancient military strategies. The humans lost ships, many ships, but the coalition lost more. And then the asteroids came alive. The rocks that had seemed random in the human formation suddenly split open. Inside each one was a weapon. Railguns that fired metal slugs at nearly the speed of light. Missile pods with warheads no alien had ever seen. Energy cannons that humans had designed by reading old science fiction books and then building the crazy ideas in real life. The coalition fleet had no defense for most of these weapons. They had never seen them before. They had never imagined them. Still, the coalition had more ships, more soldiers, more firepower. The battle went on for 2 days. 3 human cities were destroyed by missiles that got past the defense lines. 15 million humans died. But then something new happened. On a planet called Seth Vora, home of a species called the Grey Walkers who had been slaves of the Vothari for 300 years, the people watched the Prometheus message on every screen. They saw humans fighting. They saw humans suffering. They saw humans refusing to give up. The Grey Walkers remembered their own history. They remembered when they had been free. They looked at each other with new eyes. They rose up. They killed their Vothari masters with tools from the factories where they worked. They took over the cities. They took over the ships in orbit. In 3 days, Seth Vora was free. The same thing happened on Kelthera Prime, where the Kelmaran people had been unhappy with the Concordium for a long time. It happened on the water world of Nessus 9, where the fish people called the Void Folk had been waiting for any chance to fight back against the Vothari, who had taken their oceans. It happened on 16 different worlds in 1 week. The coalition of protection began to fall apart. Ships called home. Species left the fleet. Commanders said they needed to deal with problems on their own planets. Grand Warlord Thesicor watched his great fleet shrink from 300 ships to 200 to 150. No, he whispered. No, this cannot be. But it was happening. The Vothari were alone now. The other species had left, and they were facing a human fleet that was actually winning. Admiral Amara Okonkwo saw her chance. Her flagship was called the ENS Grandmother's Kitchen Knife. It was named after the story that Eduardo Ramos had told the Vothari, who captured him long ago. The name was painted in big white letters on the side of the ship. Vothari prisoners who saw the ship shivered. They had heard the story too. Admiral Okonkwo led her fleet directly at the Vothari flagship. "Board the enemy flagship," she ordered. "Take Grand Warlord Thesicor alive." Her Marines were the best soldiers humans had. They had been fighting for over a year. Their bodies had adapted to combat in ways that no Vothari scientist could explain. They moved through the Vothari flagship like ghosts, killing Vothari guards who should have been faster, stronger, better trained. But the Vothari guards had only trained for combat. The humans had lived in combat for a year. It was a different thing. Grand Warlord Thesicor was found in his command room. He had a weapon in his hand. He pointed it at himself. "Do not let them take me," he said to himself. "A Vothari warlord does not surrender." But before he could fire, the door crashed open. A human marine in dark armor walked in. She was small. Her face was covered. Her weapon was raised. "Drop it, big guy," she said in English. The Vothari translator turned her words into his language. Thesicor laughed. It was the first time he had laughed in months. "You are so small," he said. "I am 10 times your size. Why should I drop my weapon?" The Marine tilted her head. "Because," she said, "my grandmother had a kitchen knife and a very bad attitude, and I am her granddaughter." Thesicor froze. He knew the story. Every Vothari in the fleet knew the story. Eduardo Ramos's grandmother had become a legend among the soldiers. A legend that meant, these humans are not what we think they are. Slowly, Grand Warlord Thesicor lowered his weapon. The war was over. 1 year later, Dr. Miravex stood at a large window on the new Galactic Council station. The old Concordium was gone. The new council had only begun to form. It was a mess of new rules, new members, and old fears. But it was beginning. A young Kelmaran journalist named Vess approached her. Vess had traveled all the way from the homeworld to interview the famous doctor who had defected to the humans during the war, Dr. Miravex. Vess said, bowing politely, "Thank you for speaking with me. I have many questions." "I have some time," Dr. Miravex said. "Ask." Vess looked at her notes. Her big black eyes were nervous. "Doctor, the humans have been given a very important position in the new council. They are the mediators between all the species. Some say this is because everyone is too scared of them to argue with them. Others say it is because the humans are the only ones we trust to be fair. What do you think?" Dr. Miravex looked out the window at the stars. "Both are true," she said. "The galaxy fears humans, and the galaxy trusts them. These two things are not opposites. The humans fought a war against impossible numbers. They could have demanded to rule everything. They could have taken revenge. Instead, they asked for peace. Fair peace for everyone. This is why we trust them. But we also remember what they did to the coalition fleet. This is why we fear them." "Doctor," Vess said carefully, "I must ask the biggest question. What did you learn from living with the humans? What is the most important thing you learned?" Dr. Miravex was quiet for a long moment. "I learned that the galaxy was built by species who knew what they were," she said slowly. "The Vothari are predators. They always knew they were predators. The Kelmaran are forest hunters. We always knew this. Every species evolved knowing its place in life. Hunters, eaters, builders, thinkers." She turned to look at Vess. "Humans are different. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day. They were small. They were weak. They had no claws, no poison, no natural weapons. They should have died. Every time I read their history, I do not understand how they survived." She paused. "But they did not just survive. They inherited their planet. They drove away the animals that hunted them. They built cities across every continent. They walked on their moon in only a few thousand years. And yet," she said softly, "they look at themselves and see failure. They read their history and see only war and pain."